All right, Winning Time Season 2, Episode 3 is here. We're back again to talk about it all. Another great episode in the books. Got a little bit more of an insight into Larry Bird and what's going on behind the scenes with the Lakers after what we saw in Episode 2. And excited to get to it all. It's your boy G, along with Alec here in Section 300. Thank y'all for tuning in. Give the like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff for us. Appreciate all the love. And Alec, yeah, another great episode in the books, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed what they showed here. Let's start at the top with a further deep dive into Larry Bird. They start the episode there with him. What do you think about him finally getting more details into who he was?
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool episode. Obviously, it's a series focused on the rise of the Lakers dynasty, so it's heavily focused on the Lakers. But it was cool to kind of get that change of pace and more of a deep dive into Larry Bird's rise himself. And I learned some things myself. Maybe I said to Matt, like, this would probably be a favorite episode of his. Like the true Boston fans, the real Larry Legend fans, I'm sure they knew most of his story, but
Right.
I learned some things myself too. So it was cool to get some insight into his beginnings.
I did not know that he had dropped out from IU.
I didn't either.
I did not know that he did not even want to go back to school. I guess Maddie sent him home, I guess, and he was like, all right, I'm just gonna stay here, I guess. Nah, but there are other things going on, but in reality, in all seriousness, he has his own things that are going on with family and things that they showed loosely and kind of hinted at. And because of all of that, he was at home and trying to figure out what were going to be his next steps. And flashing back, my apologies if I didn't make that clear. Flash back before he got to the league, of course, and got introduction to who he was and how he became who he is. Got the hair going as he always had, and wearing the flannels and all that, and very much the country boy that we had known him to be. And he tried to stay true to that. He didn't really want to leave his area. He didn't really want to go beyond his hometown, and trying to get him to do so was definitely a challenge as scouts came trying to pull him to the schools, and he didn't want to get too far from his family. So that was definitely an interesting thing, and seeing how he would go on to go on the court. And kind of a fast forward, we'll stay here with Larry, just in the story as he would get recruited to in Indiana State it was, and show up to the court and drop like 45 on him while still wearing the jeans, and that they verified that he actually did wear jeans to his introductory tryout there, or workout with the squad, and he was counting to the points to the coach, and every shot 45 or 47, like he was just cooking them. The same way we saw him, we see him in the flash forward in the league, and how he would stare down Magic after every bucket. He was doing the same thing back during his college days, and definitely was impressive. And yeah, I just, as we continue to talk about Larry and want to start there, because that was a big part of the episode, just really enjoy all that was depicted with him, and really getting more into his story. I didn't really know his backstory like that. From afar, Laker fans, we may have just saw him as just another quote unquote another white boy that was just doing his thing, but really he had a lot more depth to his story than what we had believed. It was good to see. So yeah, definitely great there. Any last things on Larry Bird for right now, or we want to get to the Lakers and circle back?
No, just like I was aware that like he came from humble beginnings. I knew he was garbage man for some time, but I didn't. If I did know, I didn't remember about his dad committing suicide, and I didn't. Like you said, I didn't know that he dropped out of Indiana. Like he was only there 24 days, and he dropped out. And I was curious, like how the Indiana State dude like even like found him. I guess they probably knew about him from him being recruited to Indiana initially, so they kind of went to check up on him. Right. So I'm like, how do they know to find him like on his break, on his lunch break?
And of course, he's back there cooking still. Like I think he even said to him, like, if you love the game so much, why wouldn't you just go for it? And found a way to convince him to do his thing. And now here he is, and you want to do great things. And even in that, I guess the last thing staying there before we move on to our Lakers, he didn't want to even leave Indiana after that. Like he went on to school and did great things there. And even then, yet again, he was like, all right, it's time to now take the next step with that and go to the league. And he got drafted by the Celtics. And Red was trying to convince him like to stay because he didn't want to even go to Boston. He was like, "Nah, I don't want to go to Boston. It's not a city for me. I'm not a big city kid and all this type of stuff." And Red had to convince him that he was the man for the job, and already viewed him as the greatest, one of the greatest, I guess, cornermen they called it at the time. That would have been in the league. What do you think about that dynamic that played out there?
I was gonna say he gave him the bootstrap speech. Like
Oh,
gave him
yeah, yeah.
the Boston is the working class
Boston
people.
bootstraps. Oh, brother. Oh, brother.
Give me a break, you know.
Oh, my God.
Real blue collar people. But yeah, no. I mean, that was a cool moment, of course, and it was interesting to see like how, I guess Larry kind of wanted to like complete the job, like Paul George job's now finished kind of thing. He wanted to.
Don't even Paul George treatment. Larry Bird's beyond that. With
He
all
wanted-
respect.
He wanted to get a college title, I guess, perhaps, and losing to Magic hurt in that sense. But
Yeah.
Auerbach kind of talked some sense into him as far as where his draft position, like it's not really going to get any higher than it is right now, and that he saw him as a true Celtic. And I mean, Auerbach saw the vision just as much as Buss did for the Lakers too. So that was a cool moment.
With that vision, what do you think about how he laid out the style of play of the league? He's talked about how you have a fast point guard, you have a center, then you have the corner man, which he described Larry Bird to be. What do you think about how how he was described as that back then and the evolution of the position to today?
Yeah, it was kind of like funny to hear that. I mean, because I feel like today the game is kind of dominated by like the wing player, like the wing star.
Correct.
So yeah, it was kind of funny to hear it described as like the corner man and that kind of thing.
The corner man's a whole new thing in the league now. It's not even that guy anymore. So
even when he was talking about like bringing in McHale and Parrish and like how they're gonna have like this big three of big men and like the Lakers aren't gonna have anything to do with them. Like it was just funny to kind of see the difference in era and the difference in like how they like saw the game and how they saw they could like get an edge. So,
yeah, it was just funny in general, as I already alluded to, just calling Larry Bird a corner man just to begin with. Like this dude clearly shows up and does everything on the court, and yet he's still described by guys in the league as a guy that's going to end up just stuck in the corner, just getting up shots, which he could do just with a whole bunch more else to his game. So definitely, it's hard to say. I guess salute to Reg for having the vision with that and seeing how the league has evolved to have similar thinking going forward from there. So definitely great things going on with Larry Bird there. Definitely some wild things going on. His story is what he alluded to going on with his father. I know in real life, as the Lakers have alluded to, there are many real life Lakers who don't really appreciate the story too much, while fans do. So hopefully Larry appreciates his depiction at least a little bit here, and there's at least some truth to how it went down, because it definitely has been a lot. So definitely good stuff on his end. Going back to our things, back to the current moment, I think it's 1981 that we're now in. Magic's now dealing with the after effects of his infamous shot now, his Carlton moment, as I called it last episode, where he whiffed, I guess, against the Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. Now trying to figure out what's next for him and this team. First off, he's here talking with Michael Cooper, who just got an extension. He's like, after already getting a 5-year deal, he's like, does this team really want me, man? Like, I don't know, but if they're committed to, Magic, what are you on, bro? I know. I was Jerry, bro. I'd be so annoyed with this man. But that's who Magic was, and he heard that Michael got a big extension, and he wanted to have more of a piece of the pie. So he went back and gave the whole "woe is me, I don't know if they're committed to me" speech to his agent and his people, and gave that word to Jerry Buss to him, and they had to look to get him a more long-term deal. With that, also to the point of the shot, they're still dealing with the after effects of what was going on with him and where is that? And Norm Nixon and how that went down. Norm still was salty about how all of that played out, and they had to work through their differences. What did you just think about the Magic this episode, trying to get his money, which we'll circle back to, and then what went on with Norm after we saw how that last play went down last episode?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be asking for more money, more commitment after you kind of blew it in the previous season, and you, like you said, he already had 5 years left on his deal.
Right, you just got paid.
They kind of are committed to you. But this scene in particular had me dying too. Just when Magic was daydreaming and that little boy was cooking. It was like, if it was so easy, why are you doing it against Houston? I was dying. Those little kids were flaming his ass. Obviously, it wasn't real. Like it was magic in his head, but that
should have been.
That scene cracked me up. That's basically those little kids were like the a metaphor for Twitter these days or X these days.
Pretty
Like,
much.
that's what people would be saying online about him after that type of shot. No, not on Threads yet. But yeah, just the whole wanting the commitment from the Lakers. I mean, I get it because of the knee injury and how guys were perceived back then. Like once you had that knee injury, you were like for sure damaged goods, and it wasn't a definite that you're going to be able to come back in any major way, come back any way close to the shape you were before.
Right.
So there was concern, and I think he even said that to Dr. Buss, just about like how one day like they love you, the next day they'll get rid of you. I understand him like wanting to have his career, his livelihood locked in for the future with that uncertainty of his knee. And I think because of Dr. Buss seeing the vision, seeing Magic as the guy, I mean, they did win a title like in his rookie season already.
So, they just forgot who they were. Like some of this stuff is so confusing, even though it is real. I'm like, y'all just forgot who you were so quick.
But it was funny to see and like hear Dr. Buss like because he brought the different people in to kind of gauge what they felt like the team needed to do going forward, or what they need to change, what they need to do better. And Norm was like, I think Magic Johnson's the problem. And he's like, that's not what I wanted to hear from you, Norm. Like we're gonna have to settle this later on, which they will towards the end of the episode. But that was a interesting dynamic of the episode for sure.
Yeah, and what it led to, and we'll circle back to other things that went on. But as we state to this point about Magic and the deals he sought, Jerry again heard his cries and answered the call by giving him, and this is the real article, 25 years, $25 million, and said, we want to have you here long term. And back then, that seemed like the grandest of grand deals. Like you can't get no bigger than that. He's here for life, and that there should be no flaws. But obviously, we see today how things have changed. But this definitely was a grand contract. 25 years, no matter when it is ridiculous. So he got
the Bobby Bonilla deal.
Right. He got what he wanted and was locked in, and now it was about locking in, getting the rest of the team to lock in, and with him leading the way. So definitely interesting things there. Again, before I go too far, just your thoughts on the deal that Jerry Buss gave to Magic with that grand contract there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny, kind of how like last episode they're talking about Cooper making $35,000. It's just funny how much the game and the money has changed in the world, but in the league specifically. Like 25 million max contract. Some guys are getting paid 50 plus for one season, and this is 25 years just for that 25 million. So it's just crazy to look back at that in retrospect and see where
I was trying to find it. I don't know what the equivalent would be today. Like I can't even do the numbers in my head. But a max contract for 25 years over there, I can't even. Not gonna embarrass myself, but it'd be nuts. It's a lot. So definitely a grand thing, but it confirmed the loyalty that Magic sought, and there he was. A quick moment with that before we get more into the team. With him signing that deal, he's locked into LA, and of course, you know what he does. Hops on the phone, calls Cookie. Hey, what's up, Cookie? I'm here. I just got paid. I wasn't sure if this team wanted me or not, but here we are. I got my money. Come to LA with me.
And she's like, I'm not trying to go to LA. Got those fast women out there.
The biggest contract of all time. People. And the girl still says, me or the money. Like, bro, what more do you want from me?
She want to be exclusive. She want to be exclusive. She want to not have to worry about him seeing the flavor of the month or flavor of the week, I guess. You know how Magic was doing things. Magic was doing things.
Oh my gosh. But that definitely was wild. They still going back and forth. It's funny to see me answer the phone at this point. Like she always just blows them off.
She ain't worried about Virgil, man. Like she keeps throwing I'm going on a date with Virgil tonight. R.I.P. the Virgil Abloh, but this Virgil was he's not doing it for us.
We know what the truth is, so whatever. She keep playing hard to get, but she'll find her way back, it seems. So excited to see how that continues to play out. But back to the business of it, which I really enjoyed in this episode, beyond Magic and his deal, which was definitely a fun dynamic. We got talks with Paul Westhead and Pat Riley trying to continue to manage their dynamic, and started off, interesting enough, with Mitch Kupchak trying to get onto the team. This Kupchak, who we would know to later on become the GM of our squad for a long while. I was a player back in the day who was very well was of note to the squad as we saw. And they were trying to find a way to get him to the Lakers, and Paul Westhead went ahead on his own, sending his own scouts to go see him and make sure that he was the guy that should come over here. And went, I guess, behind Pat Riley and Jerry West's back to do so. And it kind of shocked them seeing Paul be so assertive. But he did what he had to do, and it led to them finding a way to get the deal done and bring him in. What do you think about Paul stepping up more into his head coaching role and being more assertive after how last season went down?
Yeah, I mean, you can understand it after he felt kind of like undercut by Riley and them, and with them kind of leaving him out of the loop with some key, like, pertinent information about Magic and his health and that kind of thing.
Right.
So you can understand him like trying to assert more of his dominance. But it just like Riley said to him on the plane in the last episode, like, you think like shouting it that you're the head coach is gonna make people believe it. Like,
right.
if the guys aren't truly like bought into you as a coach, it's not really gonna work. And the guy that they traded for Kupchak, I forget, last name was Jones. I forget what his first name was, but he even said, like, you got the English teacher as the head coach, like, as he's going out of the building. So clearly. Yeah. And we know that that's going to ruffle some feathers, like, in the locker room, just with him at the head. And I understand him, like, seeking to assert himself. It was funny to hear, like, Mitch Kupchak being the guy that's, like, brought in that he wanted. There was some Mitch Kupchak slander in there too. I was like, damn, they slander my
he's my GM, man. He's my
GM. And I was just looking him up off the show, just looking him up at, like, his stats and everything. I didn't realize that he won 3 chips in his career too. I was like, salute. I didn't realize he had that in his bag.
Mitch was him. He might have signed Mozgov, but besides that, he knows his stuff, man. You gotta respect it.
Hey, man, he's not gonna live down that Mozgov sighting right at 12:01 or whatever. Him and Luol Deng, man.
Oh God, Christ, yeah. Oh well, but for the time being, definitely it was funny to see how he got introduced to this franchise. Yeah. What went on there. Then back to Paul and Pat. I do think that his assertiveness has come too late. I think he is already known as the English teacher that's leading the way for the squad, while Pat, in a way, is the real coach.
They weren't trying to hear Invictus.
Yeah, they weren't trying to hear Invictus and all that. It was what it was. And yeah, his assertiveness, as I said, is falling on deaf ears now. Like all these guys, like, and I think also there's a way to do it. You can be assertive while also embracing your team. It seemed like he wasn't even trying to embrace his guys. Like he was trying just to show that he was above all of them because he's the head coach. And at some point, that's going to come back to haunt you, as we later know what will happen. So, definitely interesting things going on with Paul and Pat there. And that same thing with Jones, as he was walking out, you saw that he said to Pat, like, I trusted you, like, you were my guy. Right. So obviously these players see Pat as the one they can more turn to. And I was going to be interested to see how that continues to fall in place to what we know will be in the future there. So
that kind of goes to, like, what my question was at the end of last episode, like, how you felt, like, if you felt a little bad for him. And, like, clearly, like you said, like, he said, I trusted you, like, you were my guy. Like, they clearly trust the guy who was the former NBA player, like the former Laker. And, like, you can't really do anything to help that type of bias because, like, he has the experience. So, like, guys are going to trust guys that have been in their shoes before more than the English teacher. As they think of him. So
again, right coach, wrong place. Like, I see what he's trying to do, but it's not working here as much as he's trying to. So yeah, we'll see how this continues to play out. Really enjoying it all. And then to the point of dynamics, circling back to Magic and Norm, we saw that sit down after Magic got paid, as we just talked about, and Norm was sitting there, and he thought he was cool with Jerry finally. Oh, I've been waiting a long time to finally see what you went on one. And Jerry's like, oh yeah, I brought Magic over here. You say what's to him real quick. And they sat down to discuss what you alluded to at the beginning of the episode, where they had their first exit interviews and talked about what was going on with the team. And Norm pointed out that Magic wasn't the guy that should lead this team, as he said very emphatically, and Jerry wasn't too happy to hear So he got both of them in the room together, so the differences, and they discussed that, and clearly Norm felt like he was undercut by that situation and put in a spot where there was only so much he could say. Like, he may have had more thoughts on his mind. He may have wanted to say some other things, but he knew if he did, it probably would have led to him being cut from that squad. So yeah. So Jerry was like, anything you want to say to Magic? And how we can work this out? And he was just like, we're good, man. Like, he just had to swallow his pride and understand what the situation was and make do with what the reality of where they are is. So yeah, what do you think about sit down between him, Jerry, and Magic, and how you think that's going to continue to play out beyond what we already know in regards to the show?
Yeah, I don't know if it actually like played out in that exact scenario where like the impromptu meeting, him thinking it's just him and Jerry and then Magic's there, but I thought it was kind of nasty business, man. Like how they handled him in that moment. Like, he could have like gave him a heads up that Magic was gonna be there, or like he could have talked to a man to man. He could have had that same conversation with him just man to man, Busted and Norm. So it was kind of nasty. You got Magic circling the table while he's talking to him,
right?
Kind of walking around like a dickhead, like he owns the place too. So it was kind of rough for Norm in that situation. Like, with him wanting to be a Laker, there really wasn't much like he could say that would be like critical in that moment. Like, it was either like, you're going to be a Laker or you're not. Like, he was saying like his game was respected around the league, so he could trade him. Like, teams would want him. But yeah, it was like he kind of got cornered in that situation. But I believe like they were able to work out their own like personal dynamic, Magic and Norm too. So it is what it is. They did what they felt they had to do in that moment, and got clearer heads prevailed in the end. So
definitely so. And before I get to the last thing, actually no, I'll get to that later. What I wanted to say with that in regards to how you said Jerry moved and orchestrating that meeting, he hasn't been the best at the person to person, it's the relationships, how you doing the dynamics there,
politics.
We see that with his family as well. He sometimes misses the mark with Jeannie. Jeannie clearly wants to be the one to lead.
Of course,
the way.
I think he knows that too.
He knows that too, but he forever is dismissive of her and pushes back on things she tries to do and ignores the things that she tries to get done.
It's a misogyny thing for sure. That's part of it.
But she keeps not working through it. So I actually want to applaud her, but she kept finding ways to get the job done. Funny moment, she traded her brother's girlfriend off the team.
I was like, cold world, man. That was nasty business too, man.
I do what you gotta do, man. Hey, this is the best shooter in the league. I gotta go get her. What you want me to do? Hey, sorry. So
dirty work, man.
Johnny was heartbroken. Again, to flash back to that time, like, you could, I guess, long distance didn't work too well back then. So they were like, once she was traded, he was like, oh, I guess that's it. So
yeah, I know. He was like, yeah, it's over now.
Well, so I'm glad that, I'm glad that Jeannie continued to assert herself, even though Jerry continues to, I guess, test her throughout this whole process. What do you think about Jerry handling the team, as you already alluded to, and then how that also shows in how he is treating Jeannie throughout this whole process?
Yeah, even with Jeannie like asserting herself in the business side and showing her ambition and her business expertise, like, Jerry is kind of distracted as well too. Like, he's focused on Honey. Like, he's got Honey over for the family game night and everything. And
he gave Honey the same deal he gave Magic.
And Jeannie's like trying to talk business with them, and he's like, no business at the table. And she's like, since when? Like, we're like always talking, like, even when we're playing Monopoly, we're talking
real
business.
Quick. The Monopoly is a real thing. Here's another part. I think, who's the other son, the blonde-haired son? Is that Jim?
That's Jim. Yeah.
Did he ever go to jail in real life?
Oh, I don't know. I
thought that was a little like Easter egg, because he got the go to jail card and like stared at it.
Jim was the one that like Jeannie had to end up firing. Like, he was the one that was partially like on business decisions with them, with the Lakers.
I got it. Yeah, there was that first moment where I think Jim grabbed the go to jail card or whatever it was. I thought that was
he might have like some foreshadowing kind of thing. Yeah.
So I was cracking up at that. But yeah, definitely that was cool. And then again, as you pointed out, definitely tough how Jerry continues to handle Jeannie and can be dismissive of her as he is focused on other things, as you continue to say. So yeah, excited to see how Jeannie continues to I guess earn her stripes there and work her way up, as we know she will do. I'm looking forward to see what Jerry has I mean, his bag of tricks next with it all. That's the last thing I was going to get to was that you kind of alluded to it last episode in regards to the last shot in that series with the Rockets and the Lakers. I would like to see if they could find a way to do so. Just what Kareem was feeling about the slight shift in the league, about how you see more muscle showing up in the paint. You had, the thing with Moses Malone you talked about, was dominating the paint a little bit and cooked him in the next series, and they didn't really show that part. You have the Celtics now getting their towers down low, and other teams are starting to get more bigs. I would like to see how Kareem is feeling that at least a little bit. I don't know if he can allude to it. I don't know how that'll play out in the midst of the show, but some kind of something that alludes just to that, about him trying to continue to show that he is the GOAT beyond the team, but also just in regards to the league too. So
I think that's a good point, and a good critique maybe of the show is that, like, with there being so many players, and I don't mean just NBA players, but so many different characters, like there's so many different things. Like you could probably do individual like series on some of the individual characters in this show.
It gets lost in itself very much so, and it still works out, but you just think about what else is going on around it that could be affecting what's going on.
Especially like we didn't even mention, like this episode again was a little bit shorter than the last one. It was like 44 minutes or something like that too. So like if you're condensing it even more like that, you're not going to be able to touch on like everyone's perspective. But it would be interesting, like you're saying, to hear like or see Kareem's like perspective on some of this stuff. Like even like you mentioned, like Magic's contract. Just me looking it up as well, found out that like Kareem was already making $1 million himself. So like it wasn't like the first like big like a contract in that sense. It was big in terms of the 25-year commitment, but like there were guys who were making $1 million as well too. So we're not necessarily getting like hitting all the points for every character. It is, I'd say, the protagonist of the story is Magic. Like we started the entire series with that in season 1 with Magic. It's like Magic and Dr. Buss are kind of like the main two protagonists, and then we get elements of the other players' stories. But yeah, it's hard to. I'm sure it's a tough balance to kind of figure out like whose perspective you want to focus on more, whose story you want to dive into a little bit more, because there are so many people and stories to cater to. So
correct. Okay, sorry for looking down while you were going. I heard that you were saying. You just brought a thought to mind, and that was that talking about all the narratives of the show and wanting to see more of how things play out. Jeff Pearlman tweeted out that they still haven't got in, I guess, show greenlit for season 3, and they're still getting things worked out because of all the strikes going on. They're still aren't able to promote as much as they want to, and aren't fully getting the eyes that season 1 got to get them to jump as they did to this season. And they still need to get more eyes on this show so they can get it locked in for season 3 and beyond. We already see their fan art of Lakers, Kobe and Shaq, and what that season could look like down the line. But to get there, we still have to finish this out, and they still have some work to do in order to get that done. So hopefully folks continue to pay attention to what's going on here. They can't fully promote it as they'd like to right now. But definitely tune into what's going on here, because we definitely enjoy it. We had a writer on the show, writer on here during last season, Rodney Barnes, who was a part of the show, episode 1 as one of the security guards helping them exit the building when they were in Boston. Definitely a great guy that we would like to see continue to put out great content for us with this show here. So however they can continue to make that happen, definitely want to see it. And to your point about wanting to see more dynamics in the show, they have to have the room to do so. And if they aren't able to, they have to continue to cut down on things as they're doing right now. So I don't know if that's why season 2 is why it is right now, because as you said, episodes are short. I mentioned it and joked about it before, but hopefully they continue to get back to more full-length things as we go along. So definitely things to keep our eyes on. Excuse me, and looking forward to all that's next here. Anything else you wanted to get to real quick?
No, I would just say that like we're huge fans, huge proponents of the show. Love everything about it. So definitely would encourage our viewers to check it out if you haven't. Tell your family, friends to check it out if you haven't, because we'd love to see the entire story get to play out on TV. It's one of the better shows on television, period. And as Lakers fans, NBA fans, it's awesome content. So
I would take it even a step further because I have people friends who ain't sports fans and are like, oh, sports. Here you hear the guys go with all this stuff again. Even if you aren't a sports fan, this is a show that has a lot of great dynamics that I think you really enjoy. They get to the court. Yes, they do. There are some sports things, of course. It's about the Lakers, but even beyond the court, there's a lot of fun things that they show here. And showing how it all came together, I definitely think it is worth your time. There aren't, and I guess even another step is there aren't much other shows on either. So if you need something to do, this is definitely a great binge, and I think you'll definitely get hooked as we have been beyond our Laker fandom, as you can see here. So yeah, good stuff for you guys to check into. I hope you guys can check it out. Hope you guys can check us out. More things on the way for us as well. NFL season's here in full swing now. We'll be back shortly with our predictions and all of that for the season, as well as a quick glance at college football. Maybe give you a quick Heisman pick and things like that as well. And then we'll get more into NBA and things as that goes along also. So good things there. Here in LA, the Dodgers are rolling too. We can't forget them at all as they continue to look good and are off to another great run here. We'll continue to talk about them and what's going on and their title push, and continue to have just a fun time here. So appreciate y'all for tuning in as you guys do. Fun things here across the board for you guys. Help you guys continue to show love to it all. If you guys are new here, continue to like, rate, review, comment, share, whatever you got to do to show love. We appreciate it all. And again, we'll see you guys again shortly as we got more stuff on the way for you. So appreciate y'all and see y'all next week. Peace.
Deuces.